It's Mike Unleashed on the BetRivers Network.
Sixers and Flyers. Let's talk about them. The big news with the Sixers. Out of nowhere. Over the last couple of days, all of a sudden, Embiid's going to be back in the lineup. Now, he's not going to play tonight, apparently. Will he play Thursday? I mean, who knows? I thought it was going to be a ruse that they would string it all the way out and get to the playoffs and say, well, you know what, he's just not ready and it's not worth it and the whole bit. But apparently he's coming back, and apparently he looks good in practice. Now, I hear something like that, and I go, how would I know how good he's looking in practice? What am I going to do? Am I going to send a drone in there and fly around and see? Like, they could tell you anything. They could tell you he looked like Will Chamberlain, and you would believe it at this point. But I don't know how good he's looking in practice. So we'll all see for ourselves. Now, here it is, 7 games left. So really 6 games left for him. He's not going to play tonight, which really is 5 games because they have a back-to-back coming up, and they're not going to play him back-to-back. So he's got 5 games to show you whether he is truly back and whether he's going to make a difference in the playoffs. They have a 3-game road trip at Miami Thursday, at Memphis Saturday, and at San Antonio Sunday. So he's not going to play Sunday. And then it's the Pistons, Magic, and Nets at home. These are the games that we'll find out whether A, he has the wind to play an NBA game, and B, whether Nurse can blend this with this guy. All of a sudden he's back, and now you got to construct an offense around Embiid where guys that are not used to playing with him. So it's going to be difficult. Well, we'll see. It's intriguing. He comes back. The Sixers are viable. We'll see how viable. All right, let's look at the Flyers. Last week we talked about the Flyers being a lock for the playoffs, and all of a sudden they lose 5 in a row. Now, they gained the all-important point last night. With the tie, they take it into overtime. They get the 1 point, and then they lose. So they don't get the 2 points. So here they are right now. They are still third in the Metro Division. Third is an automatic playoff berth. They have 83 points. The Caps are fourth with 82 points. So lead them by 1. If the Flyers lose again, the Caps win, and the Caps go ahead of them, there is 1 wild card spot left. The Lightning have one not locked at 89 points, and we told you last week, the only team you have to look for the final spot, wild card spot, even if the Flyers give up the top 3 in their division, the Detroit Red Wings, who have 82 points right now. The Flyers have a point ahead of Washington, a point ahead of the Red Wings, but they need to get a W. They need to get the all-important 2 points, right, Coatsy? You need the 2 points. All right, so they play left. Rangers, this is the Red Wings. The Red Wings play the Rangers, Buffalo, the Caps, the Penguins at Toronto, Montreal, and then at Montreal. The Flyers are at Buffalo, at Columbus, at Montreal, at the Rangers. 4 games on the road against, the Rangers are good. The other 3 are not, but they lost to Montreal earlier this week. And then Jersey and the Caps. So they've got 2 chances to stay in the playoffs. One is to stay third in their division, which is very attainable, and the other is the wild card spot, which, again, is very attainable. It would be a terrible collapse for the Flyers after all this not to get in the playoffs. As soon as you start paying attention to the Flyers and they collapse like that, that would be a step backwards for this new regime. All right. It is time now for Mike Unleashed. Mike Unleashed, we'll stay with baseball at the top of Mike Unleashed. Rhys Hoskins against the New York Mets the other day. If you saw the video, Jeff McNeil, the second baseman, was not real happy with Rhys after Rhys came in with a late slide and really lifted his weight and his body into the stationary knee of Jeff McNeil. Now, as a guy who played a lot of infield, especially as a second baseman, turning a double play, I looked at that play and I said, that is a dirty frickin' play. That's a dirty play. Now, when I'm trying to take somebody out second base, and I've been taken out many times, I'm getting my ankles twisted. That's where you go, really, and you make the sliding, make contact with the ankles, so you throw them off balance. When you're going to make almost a stand-up slide, it looked like, and you're going to slide late, and the guy's left leg is completely stationary to brace himself for a possible throw to first base, he hit him right in the knee. And I got news for you. I'd be ticked off at that, too. I thought Rhys Hoskins was out of line. Now, the way McNeil reacted, I mean, I don't know. He's been known to do that himself in the past. And Rhys gave him the old crybaby thing, and it went on and on. But then, this is why I love baseball. Because the next day, Rhys is having a good day. they throw right behind his back as a message. Don't do it again. Darren, your thoughts?
That's why I love baseball. One of the many reasons it polices itself. The players police the game. I love seeing that. I really do. And you're right. He does it too. Like it was definitely a bad slide though. It was too much. It was cheap.
It was a cheap shot slide. I mean, I know people love Reese Hoskins here, and they go, "Oh, McNeil, crybaby." He slid late with the intention of getting his knee. Like, it's not wasn't it his ankles where you're trying to trip him up so he doesn't get any momentum to throw at the first base. You can't slam right on his knee. His knee is not bent. That's like an ACL or a broken leg waiting to happen when you do something like that. So, all right.
Worse, yeah. And I tell you, I like the throwing behind the back over the plunk.
Yeah, because you got to make it hurt.
You like the plunk? I like the throwing behind the back.
He inflicted pain. You got to inflict pain.
Right. Yeah, but I feel like throwing behind the back
rib shot
will have him thinking
rib shot,
more,
bruise.
Like
he can't swing for maybe 2 days. That's punishment. All right, let's move on. Back to the telecast of basketball in the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. This has been a pet peeve of mine. The directors for these games. First, I love the post-game handshake of coaches. I love to see whether coaches respect each other, whether they sit there and they talk a little bit, saying, your team's great, you kicked our ass. I like seeing it. I swear to God, they don't show that anymore. Like, they'll show it one every 10 times. They'll cut to some goofy fan's face rather than focus the camera on how these two teams are going to shake hands with each other and whether the coaches are going to shake hands with each other. What are you missing? That is a moment that is a televisable moment, and they always cut away from it.
I like that too. I like seeing that and handshakes between the players, the coaches. That means a lot more to me than some idiot in the stands or some college student who's losing his mind over the game. Now, during the tournament, like on the first few days of the tournament, sometimes you're trying to get out of this game and get right to the next game. And I get that. But I don't need the stupid cutaways either.
All right, next. I buried the lead here. This should have been first on Mike Unleashed, but the Eagles traded Hassan Reddick. And I know a lot of people are really upset at this. I don't know what to make of it. The only thing I can make of it is that they didn't want to pay Hassan Reddick the money in a new contract that he wanted. So they're taking their chances now by cutting a guy who's a little older and getting a younger version. So basically, they switched defensive ends with the Jets. One's a little younger with a little promise. The other guy wants to be paid like one of the top ends in the league, and they didn't think it was worth it. So I really don't know what to make of it, whether they're going to be better off or worse off. Darren, Mr. Football, go ahead.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. I have no problem with them trading Reddick. You and I spoke about it at nauseum this season where, I think he's kind of a one-trick guy. He doesn't play the run very well. He's a speed outside rusher from the strong side. He's a sandbacker. But they gave him away. First of all, he's one of 3 players, I think, with over 40 sacks in the last 3 years. They gave him away for nothing. A 3rd-round pick 3 drafts from now.
That's most likely going to be a second.
I don't care if it's maybe a first would make a difference, but a second up at 3 drafts from now is worth my
Or is it
my
a 4th that could be a 3rd? I think it's a 4th that could be a 3rd. Now you could be right on that note, but again, we come from the standpoint of that's too light of a load to get back. You got to understand that they could. You think the Jets were the only team they wanted to trade him to? Like, it all depends on the offers you're going to get. A team that wants Hassan Reddick knows they're going to have to go big with a contract. So maybe his value wasn't that good, and this is a team that is willing to give him that kind of a contract. That's always, we got to always put that into a trade.
I understand that. Then keep him. Then give him a little bit more money and say, look.
But then he's going to be unhappy.
Then he's unhappy.
You can't have an unhappy player who wants a new contract. How many times have we learned in the NFL that that's poison? That the guy's going to be complaining about his contract all year long. You can't have that distraction. So either you were going to give him the money or you were going to trade him. And I think the Eagles said, we don't want to pay him. He's not worth that to us. So let's move him on.
It certainly sounds like he wanted north of $25 million.
Yes. So how many teams around the league are going to trade? You know what? We'll give you a 1st-round pick for him. Well, he wants what? $25 million? Oh, here's $25 million. We got it. They don't do that.
No, they don't. I look for a third rounder 3 years from now. I take my shot and say, look, let's play the season out. Let's see how you do at age 30. I'll take my chances.
That
I would
guy
have held
could
on to
be
him
a
for that.
very unhappy player. You always got to look at the personality. That guy's got the personality where he can wreak unhappiness on you.
Maybe. And look, you and I weren't in that locker room. I don't know Hassan as well as I've known some of the other players, but he's never given me the impression that he'd be a prick in the
Oh,
locker room.
he showed that at the end of the year. That's all he's talking about is wanting to get more money, and they gave him they gave him a chance to get a trade. So his agent's been out there trying to get the trade for him. What do you think his agent's hearing? Nothing. He's not hearing the value around the league. All right, let's move on. Mike Greenberg said last week that UConn could make the NBA East playoffs.
I hear this crap in football all the time.
Now, I don't know what his motivation is for making a statement like that. It's absolutely, utterly absurd and ridiculous to think that a college team could play and compete against a team where the players, as far as I know, are all pros, right? And so you got UConn, they're amateurs, a couple guys that'll make the league. But for the most part, it's a college team. And the other team, they're professional players. So if you're misguided enough to think that UConn could make the playoffs, they would be 9-72. They really would. All due respect to them. It's the NBA, Greeny. Come on, man. All right, let's move on. I saw an interesting thing today in a paper about a guy who has a tattoo of a ruler on his index finger for quick measurements. Now that makes sense to me. Right? How many times? Oh, I need a ruler. I need a tape measure. Blah, blah. Oh, you got a long index finger, and you got it marked with inches and half inches and quarter inches. And you go, all right, how cool is that? That's a cool tattoo. Am I right? You look at what's the like? I can hang this picture. How far up the white one, and you use your finger. I think it's brilliant. All right, I think you got like 5 inches on it. Okay. All right, and the last thing, Caitlin Clark is the sensation. I always wonder, does she have a boyfriend? You know who her boyfriend is? Her boyfriend is Connor McCaffrey, the son of Iowa head coach Fran McCaffrey, a Philadelphia native, and Connor was the starting point guard for Iowa's men's team last year. How about my man coming in? There's something we always talk about women making like catching a big fish where she gets a pro player. And if I'm Connor, I sit back. He's got a life of leisure. He marries Caitlin Clark. He can play golf 5 days a week. Hey, hon, you making $10 million? That's good for me. I don't have to do squat. Congratulations to Connor McCaffrey. All right, that's going to close down the Mike Missanelli podcast for today. Everybody have a great couple of days as we lead into the weekend. We'll have another podcast for you at the end of the week. Thanks to Jay Wright and thanks to BetRivers. I am zeroing in on my bets. Now, I happen to have a big hit on my last one where I took UConn and I betted heavy on the BetRivers line, and I actually teased it down to 5 because the line was over 10. So I teased it down, but I'm looking at now the line. I think they easily cover 11.5, and Purdue might not cover 9.5. So if I'm making a play on the BetRivers app, I'm going to ride with UConn, and I'll probably take NC State with the 9.5. But it's all up to you on the BetRivers app. You can get in touch with me, Mike at mikemiss.com on the email. Check me out on Twitter, mikemiss25. And I guess that's about it for today. Everybody have a great rest of the day. It's dreary out there. It's going to rain all week. It's miserable. But next week, it's going to be warm. So we'll brighten your spirits next week. But we'll also brighten your spirits with another podcast at the end of the week. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.